everyone. Welcome to Ajay and Nathan Discuss Movies, a podcast in which we discuss movies that are happening, both old and new. We recently watched the film Watchers, directed by M Night Shyamalan's daughter, Ishana Night Shyamalan, in theaters just now, with a whopping 6 people in the movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
I assume everyone went to see Bad Boys instead, but we did watch Watchers, and we have thoughts on it. We have some thoughts on the movie.
We just dived right into it.
Before we get into our thoughts, Nathan, explain the movie if you can.
Okay, Watchers is Ishana Night Shyamalan's directorial debut, I believe, for at least feature films. Stars Dakota Fanning as a young woman who finds herself trapped in a building, in a forest somewhere in Ireland. She's trapped in there with 3 other people, and each night these people are visited by the Watchers. Who are the Watchers? Why do they watch, and what do they want? All these questions are asked, and all these questions are answered in the film.
Yes, and the most important question of all, why is there a dating show in the TV within the Watcher Memorial / ground?
Oh, the why are they watching like a fake Love Island TV show? I mean, I want to say there's something to do with metaphor there, like the Watchers are watching them and they're watching TV. It could be something about metaphor. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. I don't know what it was. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that asks that where I see it, I hear it, I'm just like, what? Why? What is this?
Yeah, a lot like that. It's a lot like that.
It's a whole lot of movie is what it is.
And what are your overall thoughts on the movie?
I think you put it pretty succinctly. It is like a lot of Shyamalan films. We know this is not M Night, this is Ishana Night, but it's got a lot of similarities. But like many of those movies, it's pretty good right up until it really is not.
I loved this film until I didn't.
Is what you said when we left the theater. The movie starts off very interesting, very intriguing for a good, 45 minutes, I'd say. There's a nice little mystery. Dialogue's a little wonky, but you come to expect that from these kinds of movies. And then it just drives right off a cliff and just straight down, and the movie just keeps going like that until it ends.
Yeah. I will be honest with you, I enjoyed the film for what it was in the beginning of it.
In the beginning, yeah.
I thought some of the positives, and I do want to say some positives, because there are some positives
100%.
in the film.
Oh,
I thought
absolutely.
The framing was amazing. It was impeccable.
It's very well shot, really nice cinematography.
Yeah, some great shot selections. The music was also really good.
Really good soundtrack, yeah.
Very similar to James Newton Howard-ish, which I know is a collaborative M. Night's. I don't know if he was the composer, probably not. But
no, I don't think so. It was another guy, Abel something. I just saw his names real quickly. No, thank God, no.
No. Yeah. So overall, the framing was good. There were some great shot selections in this film. The music was great. The sound design I thought was great.
Yeah, no, it's very atmospheric. It's very well shot, well directed for that first act 45 minutes when they're just in the forest.
Yeah.
When it's just the initial concept of people in a forest trapped and being watched by these mysterious creatures. What could they be? That's all really good. And then it shoots itself in the foot.
We probably won't spoil it for you in terms of how it gets spoiled. But
are we not going to do? At least not right now.
Not right now.
Not
eventually.
right now. We're gonna
later
wait.
in the review. We'll discuss when it really turned for the worse.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, overall, I thought for what it was a directorial debut in which I didn't really have expectations for.
No.
Heading into it, I'm like, okay, it's their first film, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to expect greatness out of a first film, but at the same time, I didn't expect overcomplicated plot with a lot of exposition and characters that were just there to continue or advance the plot and not really have any characteristics about those
Yeah.
characters. But again, those were the positives. I enjoyed the sound design. I enjoyed the music. The framing was great. Things would be in focus. The main characters would be in focus while the sort of environment would not be in focus. And then the environment would be in focus while having the main person in frame not be in focus. So I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little nice. And, obviously the certain shots, I mean, her being near the mirror and like being close to her, I thought that was foreshadowing, but in a good way. But then there are negatives. The dialogue, especially in the beginning of the film, was a little, as you would expect for any Shyamalan film. I know this is his daughter, but the dialogue was an issue.
Is not great. Like you said, it's over expository. I think Dakota Fanning's character mentions twice within like 5 or so minutes that like my mom died 15 years ago. That happens like twice within like 5 minutes. She's talking. She works at a pet store, and like the thing that gets her to the forest initially is she has to like deliver this bird to a zoo. The bird's name is Darwin.
Yeah.
They get lost in the forest, and she's like, "I'm gonna call you Darwin." Oh, what's it mean? What's it mean? Doesn't mean anything. Don't worry about it.
I think one line of dialogue that she said in the beginning was, "I want to call you Darwin. I think we're gonna get killed anyways." So
yeah, something like that. But it's like she's talking to the bird, and she's like, "Did you know my mom died 15 years ago, and I'm really shaken up over it?" And then like a couple minutes later, she's like listening to a phone message from her sister, and it's like, I know mom died 15 years ago, and you're really shaken up by it. Yeah. I'm just like, I wonder what's her conflict? Is she shaken up by something? What happened?
Yeah.
And then sometime later we get a flashback like, I wonder what's gonna. Oh, it's her and her mom. More than likely 15 years ago. What's going on here?
It was. I mean, yeah. Especially we need that scene, of her dying. That was so needed.
Yeah, I didn't know that the mom had died before that.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the truck hit the car, I immediately saw your reaction while we're watching the theater, and you were just bawling your eyes. Like you were just like bawling your eyes out in a hilarious way. You were just like.
I mean, by that point in the movie, like 100 other ridiculous things had happened, and they just kept stacking on top of each other.
Spoiler alert! If you guys don't know about it, that her mom dies in the film.
Yeah, no, they don't mention it like in the first 10 minutes, so it's fine. I spoiled it for you, so sorry.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, this film had issues.
It very
which
much
is
did.
One way to say it. And I'm not gonna lie. I think another negative for the film. I don't want to go up. We'll say things that we enjoyed. Yeah. What were some parts that you enjoyed?
Again, I think visually, Ishana Night Shyamalan is a very good visual director. Again, like when we're just in this like single location, atmospheric kind of dark forest area, there's a lot of nice shot choices, a lot of good uses of light. It feels very claustrophobic. The outside of like their little space where the watchers come, they call it the coop. That's where they have to go every night, like because you can't be in the forest after dark. Just like it's like bathed in like oranges and yellows, and then when they leave, it's like a nice. It's like forest, feels cold, lots of like blue, gray hues. It's a very pretty looking movie. I will say that. And they're very nice, interesting shot choices. There's one shot that I really love that happens a bit before the midway point where it's Dakota Fanning and then the older woman, Madeline, who's like in the coop with them. They're trapped out after dark, and like it's one of the initially it's just a very quick shot of like what the watchers look like, and it's just you see them in silhouette, and I thought, ooh, that's a really cool shot. I really like that. And unfortunately, that really cool shot and that really cool moment was like moments before disaster.
Yeah.
When the movie decided to just bye mystery. Yeah. Unfortunately, every good thing I'm gonna say about this movie is followed by like a but, which is sad. I don't like doing that, but that's the movie we saw.
Yeah, I couldn't help but notice the similarities between this film and The Village.
Yeah,
and a little bit of
kinda feel
Arrival
that.
as well. A little bit of Arrival.
Arrival.
In terms of the Watcher, like them being at the glass.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
fully. I'm not saying that this is like a one-to-one compare. I'm not, but a little partially inspired by it. Not partially inspired, but I see the similarities between the two of them.
Yeah, I could.
But The Village, I'm gonna
understand
be honest with you. The Village, to me, is like one of my favorite Shyamalan films.
The Village, I think. Yeah, no, that is.
It's not my
Shyamalan
favorite.
movie.
Science is my favorite, but I prefer the. No, I don't prefer it, but I do like The Village. And part of the reason why I like The Village a lot is not because of the plot, not because of the dialogue. I like it because there's like a heartfelt, genuine emotion to that film.
Yeah, no.
The characters are well thought out. Their actions are well thought out. There's a lot of heart to that movie.
Absolutely.
And with those characters.
I think there is.
With this film, I couldn't really, besides Dakota Fanning's character and a little bit of the older lady, Merlin. What's her name? Merlin? Mina?
Madeline.
Madeline.
Mina is Dakota Fanning. Yeah.
Mina's Dakota Fanning. But besides her and Madeline, I couldn't really get into any of the characters, especially the boy. To me, like, the dude in the film was a complete negative. There was nothing admirable about him. They tried to, like, say, oh, like, his dad was a drunk and all that to, like, build some sort of, like, sympathy story with him.
His backstory comes out of just, like, left field.
But there was nothing endearing about that character. Every character, besides Dakota Fanning's, was just there to spit out exposition to build up to the reveal.
The reveal.
the Shyamalan twist. You know?
I don't think anyone in the movie did like terribly. I did think that guy was like, he was just kind of funny just because he was just like kind of creepy in the back the entire. He was just like. Just like whenever the Watchers show up, he's like, "We're gonna put on a great show for you tonight." Just like this creepy guy. He's kind of funny.
He
but
seems like a guy that will like model for like clothes, like that. That's the kind of like androgynous look that I think of, like when I think of like a male model. It's just someone of that nature.
But like, yeah, his character is like he gets just like 5 seconds near the end of the second act to just be like, well, here's why I'm in the forest, and it's like, too little too late, don't care. I liked Dakota Fanning is good with what she has to work with, but it's not a lot. The older woman, I forget her name, but I know
Madeline.
the actress's name. But like, yeah, her. She shows up in a lot of movies. She's in Mandy. It was not a great one, but she shows up in like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot.
Changed my mind, actually. I'll move here with you.
But like, she's always a good actress. She's always good in these roles. She's always like that kind of actor you see in a movie and you're like, okay, I'm at least gonna enjoy you because I know you're gonna give your 100%. And then Georgina Campbell, I think is her name.
She was good. I liked her.
Yeah, no, I've
seen her in other
terrific.
films.
Yeah, she's in Barbarian.
Yeah. That was good.
She's a wonderful, terrific actress. But again, like with all movies under the dark Shyamalan umbrella, is what we'll call it. Like they're really trying their best to jump over the dumb stuff they have to say. Do we want to get into spoilers?
Sure.
For this,
Spoiler alert. Skip to this time to skip the spoilers.
So we're told explicitly what the Watchers are, and we're given at some point around the second act, the movie just becomes dedicated to lore dumps and mythology of what the Watchers are, their whole thing, and why they do the watching, who watches the Watchers. They're fairies. The movie outright says just like they're an ancient race of fairies, fairy beings, fae creatures. They come here to watch us because they're skinwalkers and they want to mimic us. Stuff like that. Gives you all the rules. Just like there's one scene where they explain just like, well, there was an ancient battle between the humans and the fairies, and the fairies were buried underground. And as I'm saying this, it all sounds like lies.
Yeah.
Like I'm just making this up on the spot. I'm not. This is all in the movie. This is about a good 60% of the movie is the fairy lore. And that's what it becomes.
Yeah. I will be honest. I think Ishana has the tools to be a great director.
Absolutely.
You've seen her work with Servant. She's directed some episodes of Servant.
She's a very good director. I enjoy her visual style. I'd say she's even more so than like M Night Shyamalan. I kind of enjoy what she does visually. She does like some cool camera movements. There's this one transition from like a deep burrowing hole to like outside or like deeper within. Just like some really interesting camera moves and shot choices. But it all gets kind of ruined by a story and a plot and characters and writing that just pull the entire thing down.
I'll be honest with you here. I haven't watched Servant, so I can't really judge it. But I thought, again, the first half was good.
It is.
The first half was good. Then it kind of gets in its own way.
Yeah, it tosses the intrigue and mystery that it was building towards in exchange for world building.
Yeah.
Of fantasy world, because at one point, like, we find out there's a bunker underneath the coop, and it's home to a professor who came out into the forest to study the fairies, and like, it's weird. It's at this point like where like there's, but yeah, no, the professor gives like this big, more of an information dump, and it just kind of like muddies the waters of what is set up initially, because we know when Dakota Fanning initially shows up, her car powers down, like her GPS, her phone stops working, and it's like there's electronics stop working in the mystical forest. But then we learn that the professor was able to build a generator and a power source in the forest. That just
how was he able to do that?
We don't know.
We don't know.
It just works.
How is the TV working but not the car? Who knows?
It just works. Like the TV works, the lights in the coop work. It all works there in that spot. He has power running in his secret underground laboratory where they watch all his like vlogs where he's like, I've been studying the Watchers and I've been bringing people from neighboring villages to get eaten by the Watchers because I want to see it. And it's like he was able to like get in and out of the forest, even though we know that once you're in the forest, it's hard to get out because it's magical. And yet he was bringing people into the forest, which means he was able to get out of the forest, which means the forest didn't want to keep him. So I guess the magic wasn't working. It let him run his generator in the coop. Why does he care about these fucking fairies?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the reason? What was the motivation between him having interest in fairies?
We learn much later on that he got down and dirty with a fairy and then made a halfling fairy child, which they call Daywalker. It's a half. Oh my god.
This film has a lot of questions.
I'm breaking right now.
In I wouldn't say most baffling thing, but the thing that I find quite odd is that the budget for the film, as I mentioned to you before, was $30 million.
Yeah. Where'd that go?
Oh, where did that go? Like, is this like a Roadhouse thing where it's like embezzlement or something, or like?
It's like, I mean, like it looks nice, but it's like a mostly like single location movie. They're just in a forest. They're just in this like tiny little building, and it's like, is it for the CGI on the monsters? Because it's like you don't really see them that much, and when you do, they look kind of dumb.
Yeah, like there was like a clear shot of the creature at one point.
Yeah.
And a non-important, not a non-important scene, but in a scene that didn't have that much emotional weight behind it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that scary to look at.
Yeah, no,
It is a PG-13 horror movie. We do want to preface this by saying it is a PG-13 horror movie, and I think this would have greatly benefited if it was like a rated R movie.
It would have, but at the same time, it's like, would that really have saved it from its other problems?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. The more I think about it, I'm like, would a rated R horror movie, would a rated R rating for this movie change anything? And it's like, probably not.
Not really. I guess it would be fun to see like that one like Irish guy's head get ripped off.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of funny. You hated him. Would have been fun to see his head get ripped off. But no, that doesn't happen.
And I'm not gonna lie, like I felt like the movie wanted to like really hype up that death scene as like a really emotional, and it's like I didn't feel anything for that character.
I didn't. There's this
spoiler alert for that if you guys
we're deep in spoiler
we're deep in
territory.
spoilers.
The movie tried to build this like weird sentimentality, especially near the end when she's like fighting the halfling. I just think of hobbits when I say halfling. Why'd you have to call it a halfling? And you called it Daywalker too, because then I just think of Blade.
Yeah.
Like this movie would have been so much better if Dakota Fanning is at some point just fighting Wesley Snipes. But whatever. She's like fighting the halfling, which is, surprise, it's revealed to be Madeline, the old woman who knew way too much about the fairies and their situation. She's fighting. She's like, you don't want to do this because we were a family in that coop. We bonded together. It's like, you guys really didn't. They really didn't.
No, there was no sort of chemistry between the people on screen.
No.
Even like the dance scene, I thought it was so heavily tacked on when they were in that bunker.
Yeah, and they're in the bunker, and she's like, if it's our last night here, we're going to dance together. And it was like...
It was awkward. It was not... I don't even think it was supposed to be romantic or like endearing or friendly. It didn't seem as if there was any camaraderie between the people. It just felt like it was just all like tacked in together. Like, oh, it was just all forced in together. Like, let's just have these 4 people in this little, watcher room and we'll just make a movie.
Yeah, it's ideally that should have just been like it all takes place like just here, and when they leave the forest, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But when they leave the forest, there's like another 30 minutes. When they leave the forest, that's the third act.
Yeah.
There's still more movie because they leave the forest and their mission becomes, we have to go to this professor who is studying the fairies. We have to go to his university and find all his research. And that's where we get more fairy mythology. She literally finds like an ancient scroll where it's like, long ago, fairies
the 4
and
nations
humans
lived together in harmony.
But then everything changed
when the Fire Nation attacked.
It's like, why is this here? Why? I have to ask, why is the fairy lore so interesting that it is so much of this movie?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, here's the thing. I think Ishana is, first off, she's 22, 23. So it's
okay.
Crazy to think that a 22, 23-year-old has a budget for $30 million.
Yeah. It's like...
That's crazy.
Who's your dad?
And what was the runtime? Do you know how long the runtime for this movie was?
4 hours.
I think it was an hour and a half.
Really?
Yes.
I'm going to double check that.
I think it was a little over an hour and a half, maybe a little less, but around that time.
Hour and 2 minutes. So that's like...
Hour and 2 minutes?
Yeah. So
there's no way.
It's an hour and 40, is it?
Oh, 102 minutes, you mean?
102
Yeah,
minutes.
an hour and 2 minutes.
Is that what I said?
You said an hour and 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Hour and 42.
It's much long. Yes, hour and 42. My brain is cooked.
And you could have easily cut, as you said, like the last act of the movie where they just leave the...
They leave the forest.
It would have been easier if like halfway, if like by that bus scene, like they're all safe and Madeline just like shows that she is a halfling.
Yeah.
And sort of like a Michael Jackson Thriller kind of way where like, at the end of Michael Jackson's Thriller,
she turns to the camera and she's like,
Exactly. It would have worked easily better if it was like that.
Yeah, it would have. It would have been better than what we got. Wouldn't have been great, but like, wait, I mean, the movie does kind of end with a shot like that.
Yeah.
With like the little mutant halfling fairy kid turns to the camera with like a weird, like, messed up fairy face.
I think this movie would be understandable if this was the prequel for the New Mutants.
The New Mutants?
If this was the prequel for the New Mutants.
The X-Men movie that came out like several years ago?
Yeah, and it was horrendous.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I thought we were banking on like a, what was it? What cinematic universe? The Watcher cinematic universe?
Cinematic universe, yeah. I think the film would have been greatly beneficial if Miss-Sized Sedan showed up.
Oh my god, from Old. I'm hoping at some point that, because there was a trailer for M Night Shyamalan's movie Trap, which we are going to see.
Yeah,
because
we're excited.
We are excited. We think it'll be good.
Yeah, we hope.
We hope it'll be good, but even if it's bad, it'll still be good.
Yeah, it's a Shyamalan film.
It's a Shyamalan. That's the thing with these Shyamalan movies, whether it be Ishana or M Night, they are very entertaining to watch.
They're not great. We wouldn't even say they're good, but they're entertaining to watch.
They're
and I think
very fun and entertaining.
In this sterile environment where you see loads of superhero movies, at least we can count on them to make movies that are at least fun and enjoyable and different and unique.
When Ishana Night Shyamalan makes another movie, I will 100% be going to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to know what happens to these fairies.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for like World War fairies.
I was thinking about World War Z the entire time.
Oh my god, really?
This and the Don't Breathe Day One or Quiet Place Day One.
Quiet Place Day One. Oh my god.
Like this movie and Quiet Place Day One give me World War Z vibes.
Really?
In a lot of ways.
Oh my god.
But I will say that Ishana is like 22, 23 years old. Like, if I made a film at that age, we're 25 years old, so we're not that far off from her age. It would also be pretty bad.
Yeah, but also neither of our dads are a very successful director.
Right. But I think in a lot of ways, I mean, I think Red Letter Media mentioned this before, where the Nepo baby discourse, I feel like it's kind of tiring. At the end of the day, what matters is like, okay, if it's a good piece of art or film, that's what matters.
Yeah, but...
And even if it's a bad one, at least it's entertaining.
True. It is entertaining. But again, I keep going back to, this is a $30 million budget.
Yeah, $30 million.
Where'd that go?
I hate to say this, but I think this film would have greatly benefited if it was under a Blumhouse budget.
Yeah.
Where there were limitations to it, so that we didn't have to drag on with these unnecessary shots and these unnecessary lines of dialogue.
Additions to the plot and the story.
But again, I don't think that the shot selections or the framing would have made sense in a Blumhouse movie.
I guess
like this, I think in a lot of ways this is artistically and like viewing wise, it's a very visually appealing movie.
It is.
And I think that's a great thing, and hopefully there's more like this in the future in terms of like that kind of visual appeal to it. But again, as we mentioned before, it greatly suffers from the lack of understanding of these characters, the fact that they're just feeding exposition every line,
that everything is all in service of the weird mythology that this movie is just so damn interested in.
Yeah.
There are two movies I thought of that are kind of almost in the same vein. It's I think Hole in the Ground and The Hollow. Those are two movies kind of about like this like Irish folklore and like the monsters in these folklores. But those are movies that are not bogged down by like the nitty gritty details. They're solid atmospheric horror movies that completely like go all in on their concept of these are monsters that are doing this thing, that are tormenting this family. It's just an excuse for like a good atmospheric kind of monster movie. And they don't get bogged down in the fairies had a fight with the humans millions of years ago and they were buried underground. I need to talk about my favorite scene in this movie when they're escaping the forest. They just find this big rock in the center, and Madeline stops to be like, this is where the fairies were trapped when they went to war with the humans. And just like you hear like battle noises in the background, and it's like, oh my god, yeah, this is World War F. We're gonna get our prequel with the fairy human war.
My question is, where do we go from here? If you're the person who directed this film, and I've seen like interviews of her on like, you know, press junkets and all that. She's very eloquent and articulate, and I don't know if she's took like a public speaking course or not, but she's very like, you know, you can tell that there's going to be a future with her in the films. I can tell. Maybe not so much like with a budget like this, like 30 million, but I definitely do think that there is a future for her. So where do you go from here? Do you continue with this lore of fairies, or do you just go out of the box and just...
In any of these interviews, does she talk about the fairies?
No.
Okay.
It's more about like how she made the film, the help that she got from her dad.
Oh, okay. The 30 million she got from her dad.
I think I think New Line Cinema was the production company behind this.
Yeah, it was New Line Cinema.
And Blinding Edge, which is obviously M Night Shyamalan's production company. But she seems like a very well-educated person, and you know, articulate and straightforward. And I mean, when you look at her, it's like very sort of, I wouldn't say politician-y like, but you can definitely tell like, oh, I understand why she got that budget in the first place.
Yeah.
Some people you understand like, okay, I understand why. But where do you go from here?
Yeah, because when Shyamalan started, I hate that we keep comparing her to him, but it's almost
similar.
inescapable.
Yeah, I mean, not bad dialogue, but questionable dialogue. A lot of exposition.
Yeah.
Payoff or a twist that doesn't have a good payoff to it.
There's like 19 twists in this movie.
Yeah. Especially with Dakota Fanning's sister looking exactly like Dakota Fanning. I was like, is this like...
Oh, yeah, because they're twins.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, when she's looking in the mirror, it's because she has a twin. Oh, my God, she named the bird Darwin because they're surviving. Someone shoot me, Jesus. Yeah, where do you go? Like, how can you make, like, a Sixth Sense when you started off with a happening? Like, where do you go from there?
I mean, the only... choice is to go up.
Ideally you go up. I mean, I don't know, I watched The Servant, which was like the Apple show produced by Shyamalan. A lot of the episodes were directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan, and that show has a very, I think, solid first season, but then it does the Shyamalan thing where it drags for another 3 seasons and then ends like a wet fart. So maybe you have to pull back, maybe do like really lock down your concept. Like if you're just going to do like people trapped in the forest, there's monsters in the forest, what do? You just do that. And you don't bog it down with all this other crap.
Or overcomplicate things.
Don't convolute it. When they get out of the forest, that's the ending of the movie. As I was, like, you can attest to it. When they got out of the forest, I just looked over you and I just said, stop.
Yeah.
Movie over. We're out of the forest. It's done. And then she opens up the magical fairy scroll. And I wanted to rip my skin off.
That was conveniently placed in the university that she's about to go to.
Yeah, no. There's like a lady at the university is like, oh yeah, we just didn't move any of his stuff. It's just all here.
The more I think about it, the more I see similarities between this movie and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I will do it for you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone.
Oh my God.
The same problems that are in this movie, and maybe this is just like a one of a million like sort of comparison, but I do see a lot of similarities between this movie and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. In terms of the overcomplicated plot, the amount of useless, unnecessary characters in this movie, despite there only being like 4 main characters, it just, all of it was just...
I can't wait for these fairies to show up in like the Sinister Six.
At the end of the movie, it should have been just like Oscorp, where the guy's just walking through and he sees all the lifelings and halflings. This whole movie was interesting, to say the least.
Very, very interesting.
But again, I don't want to hate on the director. I think she has had a vision. The ending kind of ruined that vision. But for a good 70-75%, it was a okay movie.
You're being a bit generous. That's fine. I wouldn't say it's that good for that long. I'd say it has a pretty decent first act and then fumbles everything else afterwards. I hope if Ishana Night Shyamalan does something else next that it's a bit more pulled back.
A little bit more cohesive.
Someone takes her notes on fairies and says, you don't need this. We can cut this all out of the movie. Save it for something else.
Yeah, if they just played it straight and took out all the fairy shit.
Yeah, if they played like let it be ambiguous.
Yeah,
I don't need to know what the watchers are. I just need to know that they watch.
Did you see the homage to Signs at like near where the guy was in the bunker? The professor was in the bunker, and you see like the monster on the television.
On the screen.
Yeah. It was very similar to Joaquin Phoenix seeing the alien for the first time.
Oh wow, that I did not notice that.
But I don't think it was that great of like I wouldn't say homage, but like there was a striking similarity of it. But at the same time, like we already saw like a vivid picture of these monsters before, so I don't think that scene in and of itself really played out.
Because that's not the first time we're seeing. Because like at this point, we already know what they are.
And a lot of the horror was missing in this film.
No, there was no. This movie. It shouldn't have been marketed as a horror.
It should have been as like a thriller,
like a dark
psychological thriller,
like a dark fantasy. Because that's really, I think, what it wanted to be.
And no point was I scared.
No, maybe...
I think I was more scared about Megan than I was about this movie. I don't know.
Megan?
Megan, the movie about the doll that aired last year, or it was showed in theaters last year, about that doll.
Oh, the robot doll?
Yeah.
Oh, that movie.
I think that movie was a little scarier than this one.
Well, the benefit of that movie is that it's like camp.
Yeah, it's camp.
It knows it's campy, and it plays that up. This movie is deadly serious about the fairy war.
And I think that's also an issue with the film, is that it did not know how to balance tone.
It really did not. I don't even know
because there were
what the tone
times
was.
where I was supposed to like be very like emotional, and I was just laughing, which is I think is a running theme with not only with this film, but just within the entire Shyamalan kind of lore as well.
Just so weird. But like, I don't want to say don't watch it.
Don't watch it. It's fun to watch.
It is fun.
As long as you know what you're getting into.
Know what you're getting into. Know that you're going to get like 45 minutes of like something pretty good. And then it's just going to go nuts.
Yeah.
If you're really into fairies, this movie's for you. But like, I'm not saying like, I wouldn't... I wouldn't recommend seeing it in a theater on it. You don't need to. But like, I don't know. If you find it on streaming, wherever it ends up, I'd say, hey, give it a watch.
Yeah.
Why not? When you hear the word fairy, you can turn it off.
I mean, I think there's no such thing as a Shyamalan film that doesn't hold up to what you expect it to be.
Okay. Keep going.
If you understand what I mean. Like, because there are great Shyamalan films.
Yes.
You know, I think Sixth Sense is great. Signs, Unbreakable, Village, Split.
Classics.
The Visit, I enjoy. People don't like The Visit. I enjoy The Visit. You know, even some parts of Glass. I like some parts of Glass
Some
as well.
parts of Glass. Glass also falls into the category of this is pretty good, and then it just stops being that.
Yeah.
Just like suddenly.
Yeah. But overall, I think if you're in for an entertaining watch, if you want to watch a movie that isn't bogged down with product placements like Bad Boys 4, you may want to watch this movie. I think that this film is good if you want to watch a film that is completely unique, but also understand that this is not a film that should be considered as one of the better horror films released this past year, or in the past 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah, I'll stick with you on it's a unique watch.
Yeah. Again, I don't hate this film. There's a good film in here somewhere. There is a good film in here somewhere.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Hate is not a word I would put anywhere near this movie, but neither is the word like.
Yeah.
Wouldn't put like near this movie either.
It is a film that you have to watch with your own eyes. I think that is the best way to review it. This is a film that you got to see to believe.
If anything we said here piques your interest, go ahead.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
If you sat here and you thought, what are they talking about? Are they having a collective stroke?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are.
Did we overcomplicate things? Well, you're going to be even more overcomplicated with what you're going to watch.
Yup.
So overall, I think those are our thoughts.
Those are our thoughts. Our
it's
scrambled, messy thoughts.
It's as messy as the film that we just reviewed. I think that's the best way we can say it. So overall, if the director is watching, or if anybody in the cast or crew is watching, what do you want to say? I think that we should wrap it up by that.
Good job, you guys. Good job.
I will say this was a misfire. This was a misfire. But I don't think that this is a film that will be considered one of the worst movies of all time.
No, it's not there. It's one of the movies.
It is one of the movies of all time. But I think one thing that I would like to say is like not as a critique, but as like something to keep in mind. Don't overcomplicate things. Yeah. Keep it straightforward, direct. Let the character shine through. As we mentioned before in the pod, whether it's Denis Villeneuve or George Miller, sometimes it's best to just let the actors breathe on their own. Let the scenes breathe on their own, which she did do in certain parts of the film.
Some parts.
But no one leaves the theater thinking, "Oh, that was a great line of dialogue right there."
Oh,
and I feel as if this movie was like, "Oh my god, that line of dialogue in that third act really set things apart, and it really made me think clearly about this film." No one says that after watching this movie.
Yeah, no one's gonna say.
No one's gonna say that. So keep it simple. Some of the best films that were made are films that didn't really rely too much on dialogue or plots, and just focus on that. And if you're able to do that, then you'll make a great film.
That's a free screenwriting lesson.
I've never even had one day in film school, by the way, so I'm the last person that should be giving that advice. But I do want to say, like, just to lead off or end off, I remember Norm Macdonald released Dirty Work, which was like back in 97, 98, directed by Bob Saget. Oh. And it was like a straight to like comedy film. It was like a comedy film. The entire thing was a comedy film. They didn't really put that much thought about like the plot and shit like that. It was just a comedy film. And one of the reviews was like, "Oh, this is no Raging Bull," which is like, obviously it's not supposed to be. Like, it's not supposed to be that. It's supposed to be a comedy.
I remember our friend Dan Doherty saying that about Unfrosted.
If Jerry were here, Jerry, get on the pod.
Jerry, get on the pod.
Jerry, I know he's savage. Come defend your movie. Yeah. If Jerry were here, I think he would make some horrible statement about what's going on in the Middle East, and then. No, I'm just kidding, obviously, but I think he said that basically, that like it's a fun movie. It's not Raging Bull. It's not supposed to be some great amazing thing. Yeah, it's supposed to be like kind of Blazing Saddles.
About Unfrosted, it's so I think in a lot of ways, like when you watch a Shyamalan film,
it's no Unfrosted.
It's no Unfrosted. At least with this film, it knew where it was. No, it wasn't. The more I think about that, I'm like, no. I don't think it. I think it took itself way too seriously. I'm not gonna lie, but I will say that with Shyamalan movies, regardless of who's making it, understand that
you are getting a unique experience.
Yeah,
from a director and mind uninhibited by the loud noise of the studios and trends. I'd say that's what I can say about Ishana and M Night. They are out there doing their own thing. Good for them. I'm sure they like this movie. And you know what? At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
I remember seeing M Night Shyamalan post about this film on Instagram.
Oh, okay.
Congratulating his daughter, which he should be proud. But he said at the end of the paragraph that like the audience dictates whether or not this film is good. Listen to them. So I think that's kind of important. I think that's important. So we'll end off on that. I think that's a review on Watchers.
That's a review on
we
Watchers.
had a fun time watching.
We did. We had an excellent time watching
It was one of those movies very similar to Don't Worry, Darling, where we watched it in the theater and we were just like, why?
We are witnessing something very special right now.
Yeah. And yeah, those are our thoughts. I don't review I don't review films. I just discuss them. I think that's why we named our channel Discuss Movies instead of Review Movies.
No, we're not reviewers. We're idiots.
Yeah, we're idiots just like...
But the benefit is that any idiot can be a reviewer.
Yeah.
Follow your dreams.
So yeah, those are our thoughts on The Watchers. Watch it. If you don't, that's fine. But just understand what you're getting to.
Exactly.
And hopefully we can see more of these films in in theaters later.
Yeah. I want more fairy movies.
Yeah, we want more fairy movies. All right, guys, that's it for us.
All right.
Maybe watch The Village. All right, peace. Bye.
Peace.